mentioned these, but I want to say again that the physical is the tip of the iceberg. That's it. All these things we talk about, the verbal, the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual abuse is big. Because of people, someone who's trying to abuse somebody and control them uses everything they can get their hands on to do that control. And if it's scripture, they'll use that. What we have, okay. Should we watch the film? Do you want to watch the film? Okay. So, all right. So we're going to watch the film now, which is actually, it is faith-based. It's made by a group called Faith Trust Institute that was sort of started the work around faith and domestic violence. And so we will watch that, and we'll talk a little bit afterwards. So I'm sorry about the time.
I want to make a disclaimer. We are videotaping this for both televisions, so if you do not want to be part of this, let us know. Okay, so I just want to make that disclosure at this time. I think. Okay, so thank you.
I want to say one more thing before we start the film, because the gentleman over here asked about this. One of the things that we do at Connect is we've shifted the lens away from why do women stay to why does this happen. And we do have men's groups, and we have roundtables for men to talk about, men who want to be part of this work, who also may have learned this. So I just wanted to say that before I forgot. Okay. I think, you know, does anybody have something burning to say from that? What was that like? I mean, we've heard those stories. I think we're really familiar with this, and what we need to really work on is how each one of us can be a safe space. I believe the sister here in the pink was talking about helping out with young women, and I just want to say a few words because we don't have a lot of time left about our approach to people who come to us. Because it's really, really important to, first of all, remember that we don't know really what's going on. We might know a little, we might see this, we might see that, but we really don't know what that situation someone is in is like for them. They know who's abusing them. They know that person. They know their tactics. We don't know that. And one of the biggest mistakes we make is because we're well-meaning, we want to fix. We want to save. We want to get somebody safe right away. And in doing that, we can often cause more harm because we think we know better. And you know what that sounds like to somebody who's in an abusive relationship, who's already been made to feel small? That just makes them feel small again. Because you're saying, like, why aren't you leaving? What's wrong with you? Why you're not being strong? This is probably one of the I think it's the greatest hurdle because we're such a victim-blaming society. We blame victims. We would much rather look at the victim than look at the person that's doing the harm. So we just focus all our energy there, and we make the mistake of not understanding that we don't know, and that really what we're there to do is say, are you safe? What could I do to help you? And I know that you're going to make the decisions you need to make at some point, but you know, I know that you know best, but I'm here to help you and be present.
I'm sorry, I have a burning statement regarding the church, and we can't take each other to court. Apostle Paul hated the Christians at first, but he didn't realize that he loved them because Jesus Christ said, "I am my Father one." When you read the New Testament and you study the personality of Christ, he never hurt anybody. He never hurt anybody. People came up to him that he really could have walked by, but he didn't. Okay, the woman that was caught in adultery, okay, he had a beautiful, sweet spirit. So I'm a church member for a long time, and when someone hurts me, and if it's not instructive, okay, then I have to question that. Okay, and I think that, you know, my wife, you know, 32 years, you know, I treat her as a person as I want to be treated myself. But it's that, to me, that's the gauge. You know, if you're going to teach me something, fine. But if it's hurtful, and I feel it's hurting me, then I think it's time to take another look at that. I'm sorry, I just had to.
Oh, no, that's. You want to say something?
I'm glad you said that because I think that, and you saw you also said, we really don't know the whole situation. My concern being involved, for the time that I've been involved with domestic violence is how do you clear that picture up enough to know how you help? What do you say? What do you do? Who do you refer this person to? Will you make the system, the situation worse by something you say or do? I just want to talk to you for a minute because I heard you today and I am a little concerned. And I heard you say that folks are concerned and why they have the concern that they have. One of the things that came to mind as you're talking, I always want to fight back. You mess with me, I'm going to mess with you. You hit me, I'm going to hit you back. I don't want to do that. I don't want to fight. My thing now is about peace. So I'm concerned that, and as much as I also heard you say, let me pre-reference this, is that you said that you only do this if you had to, and that's key, and I think that needs to be more powerful so that people know that you are not supposed to take a big old strong man on when he got a knife. You're not supposed to take on a big old strong man when he got the gun. So I think that the person needs to be real clear when they take on, I'm no punk, trust me. But I need to be, I don't know that I want to tell somebody to take on a man without knowing what I'm telling her to do. So that's very uncomfortable for me. But I heard you. So I really think that at some point we do need to be empowered, and I think that we do need to be able to fight back, and I do know that we need to stand up for ourselves. But I don't know that everybody I would tell to hit back or strike your nose or hit you. I don't know that I would do that yet. So I just wanted to bring that up. And I also am glad about this film, because most people think that it's only in our communities, that people are being beat up and struck down. And I said, why are you showing all these white people selling? And Sally says to me, I need you to understand that it is across the board, that it's not color. It has nothing to do with color. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with sex. It has nothing to do about where you live or what church you go to or what community you live in. It has nothing to do with it. If somebody's going to try to take you on because that's who they are and that's where they are in their life, then we have to find ways to do it. And I know that there's not one answer to this. There's many answers to this. And thank you again, Pat Kerr, for having us here so that we can have this dialogue today.
What's been pressing to me is about the children. I know as adults, or if you're on an airplane, you're supposed to put on your life jacket before you take care of your kids. I deal with kids in the Sunday school department, and I teach them to be respectful. And they've come up to me and said, you don't know what's going on in my house. And so definitely I think, abused people become abusers. And I think we really, I've heard a lot of talk today, but I really think we need to really have some focus on our young people. There's a lot of violence in the community. They are angry. They're always fighting back. And sometimes we don't understand where that originated from. And so therefore, I understand that Connect also have a component for young people. I understand there is a component. And I think, we want to focus on that as well as the seniors that was mentioned here earlier today. But I think those are the two extremes that we really need to put attention to. Definitely take care of the middle, but we cannot ignore the babies. We cannot ignore them.
Thank you so much, because we do have to work with all age groups. We can't just work with children, we have to work with everybody. And one of the things about domestic violence that we don't understand is exactly what you're saying. It affects all these other areas. It's very connected to gun and gang violence. It's very connected to homelessness. It's very connected to not being able to learn. And we put children in special ed when they don't have learning disabilities. They have trauma. They have trauma from their home. And they're being blamed for that, because I've gone to educational things with teachers, and they have never get training on domestic violence. So we're not seeing it, and it's just affecting every different area of our world.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up regarding this whole situation is I didn't hear anything about alcohol and I didn't hear anything about drugs. But alcohol and drugs have a big role in all of this. You know, we get so many liquor stores up here, or we get so many, you know, things like that. But we need to concentrate on doing things like getting bookstores and other things that are more positive. Because once the drugs and the alcohol are in the equation, it makes it a whole lot easier for the violence to happen. So I would say that we need to take a look at our whole society and see what our priorities are and protect our children, the middle, and the elders, as was said. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to say, oh, do you want to say something?
Kind of like going back to what you were asking and what you were saying. The problem with practically everyone is that everyone has an opinion. So because of that, when someone does come up to you to speak to you about their issues, and it may not have to be a verbal opinion, because I'm very big on body language, but we have that big problem. And the reason why I'm saying it is because I don't talk about it a lot. Now I'm more comfortable saying it, but someone, I believe you mentioned it regarding abusers and abusees and things like that. Now, not so much domestic violence, but I was a victim of another sort of heinous crime, and I became violent. And it took a good church for me to figure out what I was doing. But my biggest problem was the opinions of others. We have that bad habit. At one of my previous jobs, she wasn't even a tenant. She was the daughter of a tenant. And everybody could not stand this girl. She would get drunk, she would smoke crack, she would spit on the security guards, and to the point that the security guard beat her up. And how I met her was she came into the office. I was an administrative assistant at the time. Same company I'm in now. And she wanted to file a complaint against the security guard. She got comfortable with me because I did not form an opinion with me already having that background. I found out, and she was in about early 20s, she was sexually abused by her mother's boyfriend. The crack and the drinking was her escape. So while everyone else seen her, my boss even came up to me, other tenants even complained to my supervisor at the time and said, why is she in here? She's not a tenant. If she continues to come into the office, we'll complain to the upper management. My boss came to speak to me, and it's like I told him, no one knows this girl's story, and I refuse to stop speaking to her. I have no problems leaving. She cleaned herself up. She has a child. She has a good man. She's in church. She needed someone to believe in her. She needed a shoulder to cry on. She needed someone to speak to without anyone having an opinion. Sometimes it's better, because as I said, I went through it, to not say anything at all. Sometimes it's better to just let the person speak, let it out. Then as they come to you more often, then you may want to say, well, have you tried counseling? Do you know about this place? Do you know about that place? Then maybe. It all depends on the person, but most of us, we just want someone to speak to and not be looked upon a certain way.
To me, thank you so much, because that's the heart of the matter. As I said before, the victim blame, you're saying very nicely, an opinion. And that's and how I say that, another way to say that would be that we're so judgmental. And I do a lot of work in churches, and whenever we kind of break down into groups and we talk about what's the biggest obstacle in this place to coming forward and getting help, and what do you think the answer is? Judgment, judgment, judgment. And We have to shift our culture in general to understand that victims are not going to stop, will turn into victimizers if people don't have compassion. And we have to live, and if anybody exemplifies a culture of compassion, is Jesus. I mean, Jesus shifted. What his whole thing was with his culture was we need to shift over to being compassionate, open, accepting, love. And that means that we also need to be humble. And when someone comes to me, I again, I'm like, I don't know what this person has gone to. And also, we tend to focus on the person's weak, they're allowing this. No, we need to help people focus on their own strengths. I did an oral history, a life stories project with some other women. We interviewed 40 women who were survivors of domestic violence around their motherhood, like what did they decide, how did their children impact their decisions around domestic violence. And what was so incredible was that when we just sat and listened to their stories, and as they heard their own story, they had been told that they were victims and weak so much, but as they heard their own story about how they got through and got over, they started to realize, no, I was strong. And that coming from a place of really, sometimes we have to believe in other people's strength when they don't believe it themselves, because people have just kicked it out of them on every level, spiritual to physical. And so that's the best thing we can do, is just listen with real respect and humility and love, and just say, and of course arm ourselves with as many resources as we can, and be sensitive to when the time is not to say anything, and when the time is, and that is always difficult. That's a challenging. But we do know that the hallmark of trauma, that the trauma that we have from this terrible thing, is the hallmark of that is disconnection. Disconnection from self, disconnection from God, disconnection from our community, and a lack of trust. You just can't trust anybody. So that woman saw in you became a safe space. And that's what all of us can be, a safe space. And she saw that on you, and she was able to come to you, and how beautiful that you stood for that, and that's what all of us need to do, is just become a safe space. And then the other part of it is that we need to figure out, and we are nowhere near doing this, is how to hold the people doing the abuse accountable and really start talking about it. You saw the gentleman in the film talking about it. That's what the person with me who's the co-executive director is named Quentin Walcott. He's in Staten Island at the National Council of Negro Women speaking right now. And we're so both honored to be able to do that. And as I said, he works with men. We have several men that we work with. But it's important that men and women do this together, that we do this together, that we understand it's just not some women's issue over here, and that we really just keep breaking the cycle and breaking the silence. Yesterday I was with a man named Father Michael Lapsley, who is from South Africa, and he was in the struggle in South Africa, and he had his hands blown off by a letter bomb that he received from the Afrikaner government and the apartheid government. And he was talking about, I loved how he spoke about this trauma. He said, your life is like a river. You're going along, and then something like this happens to you. And it's not just an incident, too. It's a whole world. I mean, we see the hitting or this. It's a whole world that you get stuck in. And he said, it's like a whirlpool, and you get stuck there without the healing. You get stuck there, and you spin around, and you do become a victimizer. And you just go back and forth, victim, victimizer, and you're just spinning around until someone comes along, and then that flow can start again. And it's really like that. So it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a heart. It just takes for us to be loving and
Thank you very much. Do you want to share some more words, Priscilla? Please. And then we're going to wrap up.
Thank you once once again for having me here. I just also want to remind the community there are services out there for victims of domestic violence. We have, like I said, the Crime Victims Assistance Unit. It's up here at Community Board 12. I left some pamphlets. They are actually at the information table. And we're here to support. We're here to guide them, to provide them the services that they need. Sometimes they need assistance with safety planning. Sometimes they need to be placed in a shelter, or they need that guidance. They don't know where to go. That's what we're here for. And the services are free of charge. It doesn't matter whether we have a case in our office or not, whether it has been reported or not. They could feel free to stop by our office or make a phone call, and we will see them and sit down and talk to them. Sometimes they just need someone to speak to, someone to hear them. They need that support, and we're there for them. So just feel free to take one of the information pamphlets that I provided on the information table. So if you know of someone that might be going through domestic violence or any type of crime, feel free to let them know about the services that are available in this community. Thank you very much for having me once again.
We really want to thank our speakers for today, most definitely the Reverend Dr. Sally McNichols, Miss Stephanie Pryor, most definitely Priscilla Travers from the DA's office, and the gentleman that joined us today, Leon Dickerson. Thank you so much. I want to bring up the committee that made all of this possible: Judith Richburg, Priscilla Corwell, Carol Smith, Marietta, and Toba. Definitely Miss Frances Garvin, please come on up. So these are the people that really put all of this together. I gave them the concept, I gave them some information, and they just took it and they run forward. We have a little bit of information. We gave you some the forms to fill out, and we would appreciate if you would fill out these forms. It's critical and important to us to ensure that we're doing something that's valuable in the community, that you truly appreciate it, that we need to bring this back. Do you, by show of hands, how many of you think that we should continue this conversation? Thank you. And those of you who joined us today, definitely we want you to continue to be a partnership with us in the community, the ladies here at this table. Definitely we're looking for partnerships. We really want to thank the church that provided the facilities as well. So I'm going to ask Priscilla Crowell to end it out for us. And thank you so much. This could have not been possible without your presence here today. So you're the most important thing to us right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to acknowledge once again an incredible person in the person of Patricia Cura, who she gave us the idea like 3 weeks ago, saying, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah. And we'd use all the media, email, conference call. Please complete the conference evaluation. This takes us to step 2. This is only the beginning. This is the first of a few steps. And it's part of the healing, and like Mahatma Gandhi says, we need to be the change we want to see. You have in your folder on the left-hand side a sheet that says Community Center Resource. These are some of the resources immediately available in our community. A lot of them are free. Some of them have a fee of $25 a year. But some of the things we need to do is always think about health and nutrition. If I'm in violence with my body, I'm not good for the next person. I get up in the morning and I got a headache and I got children to get to school, that's going to be a problem. Or even a significant other, whoever's living with you. We are sharing apartments now, some of us. We're rooming, a lot of us now in my 60 and 70 and 80 group. We are sharing apartments. Some people are sharing homes with adult children that have returned. Those are relationships that involve what? Humans. It's all about our humanity. How, and I had a chance to go back to college and finish in 2011. I'm in my 60s. Was in my 60s. So anyway, they said, well, why'd you do that? I said, well, I'll be a better grandmother if nothing else. And it worked because my ears opened up. Like, I could hear stuff. You know, and that means I talk less. Believe it or not, I'm very quiet. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
I'm going to have one of our members make some other comments and pray us out.
I want to give thanks to our sponsors, Carol's Journey, Connect, and Wisdom. Thank you so very much. As well as this facility, we would not be here without Our Lady of Grace Church, without their open heart, and they welcomed us and helped us along the way. As we're new in this journey, we thank you so much. We also want to thank the District Attorney's Office for coming. They reached out to us, Community Board 12, and we have the names are too numerous, and we don't want to miss anyone. They are on the brochure, on the program. So take a look at the program and give support. We also had special support from individuals, and we don't want to stop and not say a special thank you to those individuals who went into their pocket at our board meeting and they said, here's a few dollars. You know, so we're very, very thankful for those. As well as Western Auto, they provided the 2 pocket folders that we're using. As you know, it's expensive to put on an event like this, and so we're very, very thankful. The National Council of Negro Women Child Care Development Council, I think we always get that mixed up, right? I know I didn't say that right, so it's okay. She said it's all right, so I have permission to mess that up one time. I'll get it right the next time. But we're thankful also to you as well. We would be remiss without our is it our sister organization, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, the Williamsburg Bridge Branch. At least all this help, you know, I'm so happy of the help that I have up here. And so I do want to make note, this is our first step out, as I said, the beginning of our journey, and we want to fill a gap in service. We don't want to duplicate what you're already doing, but we want to fill a gap. And we hope that having a facility, having a place to hold the discussion and to involve the community is the first step. And because we didn't know about all the wonderful work that is going on out there, and often I say we don't know until we need the service. So we want to be like a information and referral, a place where we can just have the information and provide it to people to help them along the way. And so we're beginning our list, our participating organizations and community resource list is right in your program. So everyone that spoke to you today, if you don't get their brochure, it's listed. The phone number, the proper phone number, and the contact person is listed right here in your program. So hold on to that. So, all minds clear?